This is Annie Andrews with The Arena, South Carolina's only progressive media company, and I'm here today with my friend, Fred Guttenberg. Fred is the father of Jamie Guttenberg, who was shot and killed on February 14th, 2018 at the tragic school shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. And in the wake of that tragedy, he started a nonprofit organization, Orange Ribbons for Jamie. He's also written 2 books, Find the Helpers and American Carnage. He is one of the loudest, most effective voices in the gun violence prevention space. He has deep connections on Capitol Hill, and he works tirelessly every day to build the safer communities that we all deserve. So thank you so much for being here with me today, Fred.
Thanks, Annie. Good to see you as always.
So I wanted to talk to you this week because of the events that transpired on July 13th, this past weekend at the Trump rally, which I now realize was Jamie's 21st birthday.
Yeah.
That's how we
make it up.
Reaction. Yeah.
You know, it was every birthday since Jamie's been killed has been like just really sad for my family and me. And my wife and I decided this time we didn't want it to be that. We wanted to do something that Jamie would have wanted us to do, that Jamie would have done, which is some kind of kindness towards somebody. And we went around giving out what my wife made, calling blessing bags to homeless. And rather than coming home feeling sad, we felt like we honored Jamie's memory. We felt okay. And then the news of the shooting with Trump. And listen, doesn't matter politically where I stand and what I think of his, whether or not he should return to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a human being, and he's still almost just a little bit more, and he could have been killed by an AR-15, purchased or actually obtained by a 20-year-old kid with a grievance. Same thing that happened to my daughter. And all I could think about was, how in the world could this happen? You know, Annie, I thought about all the people who said to me, if only there were more armed people around.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your daughter could have been saved. There were plenty of armed people around the president. But when you have a determined person in possession of these dangerous weapons, bad things can happen. We got really lucky that Trump didn't get killed, cosmetic wound, but somebody did. 2 people are critically wounded, and that's not okay. You know, people, it seems everyone's forgotten about those other 3 people. I won't, because that happened in a Trump rally where he was surrounded by the most heavily armed people, and somebody still managed to do it. We need to do something about this. It's not okay.
That's right. Gun violence does not discriminate. And
it doesn't discriminate, and it doesn't judge you based upon whether or not you're Republican or Democrat. A bullet has no idea.
Right. And having these weapons of war on the street and having the gun laws that our country has puts us all at risk every single day. So what have you seen in the wake of this shooting as far as the dialogue about how this is going to drive a conversation about gun safety legislation in the upcoming election? Have you seen a lot of conversation about that?
It is shocking how silent the Trump team and the Republicans are. In fact, the day after the shooting, or 2 days after, they were auctioning off an AR-15 at the convention. So it didn't change anything for them. The reality of what almost happened didn't change anything. The folks like me and you who care about this have been vocal. I personally, again, have focused on how in the world did this happen, not anything about Trump. In fact, I would say I've been more gentle on him this week than normal, because it never should have happened. But the facts are this. a 20-year-old managed in a zone. They always say gun-free zone, gun-free zone. This was not a gun-free zone. There were armed people all over, managed to acquire the gun. I think within like the day of, like tons of ammunition. And he was determined to kill the former president and other people. You and me and others in our movement know that this kind of stuff, if we do common sense, reasonable, normal things, if we treat this like the public health crisis that it is, if we respect gun owners and the Second Amendment while going after the means that one would have who intends harm to someone or someone else, we can do all those things and make the country safer. I don't hate gun owners. I don't hate the Second Amendment. I hate gun violence. And every single person in that rally, every Republican, every member of the Trump family ought to be able to say the exact same thing I just said, which is, I respect gun owners. I respect the Second Amendment. I hate gun violence. And they're not saying it. And it just frustrates the hell out of me.
That's right. I think one of the things that frustrates me so much about this work is that we know what the answers are. And we know that the majority of Americans agree with us. And it's just become such a political, it's so hyper partisan. It's so frustrating because the solution
Yeah.
is right there. Lives could be saved starting tomorrow if we had more leaders with the moral courage to act.
Not only do we know what the answers are, we know the answers work. So
Right.
when you look at the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which I would call the bare minimum that could have been done, it was important, but the bare minimum. When you look at the fact that we now have a truly functioning ATF, when you look at the fact that the president has passed his executive actions, when you look at it all, you can't argue with the results. We are seeing a decrease in gun violence in America, a dramatic decrease. It's not enough. Okay, we didn't stop this kid whose father acquired the weapon for him. So it's not enough. But we do know that when we do the bare minimum, okay, it works. Just imagine if we do more. Look at what the Office of Gun Violence Prevention has managed to do in 1 year, okay? I mean, look at the amazing work they're doing around the country to bring together everyone involved in the mission to reduce gun violence, whether you're in healthcare, government, law enforcement, across the country. And that office exists because of President Biden. That office, if we value our safety, if we value the safety of those we love, needs to continue. And it will only continue if we reelect President Biden.
That's right. I had a conversation with our mutual friend Joe Saccharin about this very thing. That I do not want to wake up the
He's a
day after
good guy.
he's a good guy. I don't want to wake up the day after the election and just watch that office disappear because that's
I
exactly what will happen if Biden Harris do not get reelected.
listen, Annie. One of the things that I know as someone in this movement, and as a father who visits his daughter in the cemetery, every statistical drop in gun violence for me equates to a dad who I'll never meet, who's going to watch his daughter dance. Okay? That's what it means to me. I know we are keeping families together because of this work. I know parents are going home to kids and kids are coming home to parents because of this work. You can't argue with the results. As I always tell my son, numbers don't lie. And it's you can't argue with it. Just imagine if the work stops. More families are going to be devastated like mine. I'm not prepared for that.
That is so beautifully said and inspiring because you're right. Doing this work sometimes is really hard because we don't see the lives that are saved unless we're diving into the numbers. We don't know about the gun that was locked up and therefore did not show up at a school or did not go in a child's backpack or wasn't used to shoot a 3-year-old. we don't know what we're preventing. We can watch the data over time, but I think it's hard for people in this movement to keep going. You keep going. You are one of the reasons I keep going. So how can we inspire everyone out there to keep going and understand that the next 13, 14 weeks are so critical for the gun violence prevention movement?
Because every bit of work that you've done has worked. You need your work. Unfortunately, the success of this work is not measured like the success of other things where you can actually see, touch, and feel something that you did. In this case, you'll never know that dad because his kid wasn't killed. You'll never know that mom because her child wasn't killed. You'll never know that kid because mom and dad came home to them because something didn't happen at work. Our success is not measured in the normal ways, but we do know there are fewer instances, and that means more people are alive because of it. And that we need to wrap our heads around that concept. We need to know everything we said would work that is now getting implemented is in fact working. And the only option is to make sure it continues.
That's right. Is there anything you think we can do as voices in this movement to, on the heels of the Trump rally shooting, to advance the conversation in any way? Or do we just need to put our heads down and elect gun sense candidates across the board?
Well, so I'll say this. Because those who actually were impacted by this particular shooting are not speaking out about it, we need to get even louder.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get more determined. The reality is this: for the next couple of months, I'm not even focused on any kind of legislation or any kind of political work, or I shouldn't say any kind of advocacy. It's all political work. The only option for me is to make sure we reelect President Biden, Vice President Harris, and a Congress that they can work with. It's the only option. And so what we can and must do is make sure everyone understands the importance of their vote. I again, as I tell people across the country, if you believe in reducing gun violence, you know who to vote for, and you know you need to vote. If you believe in bodily autonomy, you know who to vote for, and you know you need to vote. If you believe in your rights to vote, and you want that right to continue, you know who to vote for, and you know you need to vote. If you believe that what we're seeing in our environment is not abnormal and that there's a problem and you want to fix it, you know who to vote for, and you know you need to vote. And most importantly, to the young people who might be listening to this, I will say to them, you all talk a good game. You all have said to me, you are going to be the future leaders, that you are going to be the future change makers. If in fact you mean that, then the idea you would say now, you may not vote in this election, doesn't add up. And so I will say this to you. If you mean it, if you really want to be a future change maker and a future leader, if you don't vote in this election, you may never get the chance to be that change maker and leader because we won't have a normal election after this. Your ability to be a leader and a change maker starts with you stopping the nonsense talk and getting out and making sure you and everyone you know votes. Everything is on the line in this election.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think we should end with that. Fred, as always, you are incredibly inspiring. Thank you for your tireless work. Thank you for helping me to keep going. And I look forward to the conversation after the election and how we can continue to pass the gun safety legislation that we so desperately need.
Thanks, Annie. We got our work cut out, but we can do this.
That's right. Thanks so much, Fred.
Talk to you later.
Goodbye.